good morning or afternoon or night to whoever is listening. Thank you so much for tuning into the Liam Cooney podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by James Farrelly. James is an actor, a filmmaker. He owns a gym in Dublin called DSC, Dublin Strength and Conditioning, and has recently moved down to Gorey to enjoy the quiet life, as I like to call it. So in the episode we talk about just general life stuff and how we feel a lot of the time, or we talk about Bad Things in the Middle of Nowhere, which is a movie that me and James worked on together. It's due to hit cinemas at the end of summer, going into autumn, I would say. And just a really nice conversation. Beforehand, we went and got a sauna and went for a sea swim in Ballymoney Beach. Shout out to the Ballymoney Beach shop and Dylan Fitzpatrick, who owns the sauna. And just been a really nice morning, having the chats with James. And on the podcast as well, we had even more chats, and just a really nice vibe. So for this podcast, I have previously created music, very, very cinematic music that I've been working on a MIDI player to open the show. But James had a great idea during the podcast to make music afterwards based on how the podcast sounded, or the general vibe of the podcast. So I think I'm going to do that from now on. But here is this week's music that I created. Very, very cinematic, very dramatic, but I hope you enjoy it. I've enjoyed making it, and I really enjoyed chatting to James on the podcast. If you do like the podcast, click like or subscribe, or whatever platform you're on. Just click a button that's going to make sure you keep in touch with the podcast. Without further ado, this is the Liam Cooney podcast. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Keep talking there so I can get some levels.
Yeah. And does your pizza oven work?
Pizza oven does not work.
You can get one of those maybe one of those electric ones or something like that and just fuck it in there.
Yeah. Fucking hassle making pizza.
Yeah. I don't even like pizza that much. Do you know what kind of pizza I like? I like the shittiest type of pizza. I like those little pizzas. Well, I like the tiny little frozen ones.
Oh no.
From I like the most processed shittest ones ever. Like eat them like biscuits.
Eat them like biscuits.
I do eat them like biscuits.
That's good. That's
cool.
Perfect.
So as soon as we start the podcast, then we'll just stop talking to each other.
Yeah, we'll have nothing to say.
Nothing to say whatsoever. Here comes the rain.
Who's the rain?
The rain.
I will sit in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Testing 1 2.
Do you have any format around that? Do you do like a?
Not really. I probably should.
No.
That's good.
Do you have a time? Do you have like a time that you usually like mark to?
No, like the last few ones were about 30 minutes, which seems to be appropriate. But like it's whatever. We're just kind of
you have a chat, and see what
shooting the
happens.
breeze, I suppose.
What was your thing to like? Oh, go on. You probably want to start, do you?
We're already started.
Oh,
pretty
right.
much.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of like a slow
burner.
Yeah.
Like what was your impetus to like do the podcast and to start it?
I think I've always wanted to do a podcast, but the block there was always, will I always have enough to talk about?
Yeah.
So then with Ken and his kidney disease, I thought it'd be an interesting way to open it up and talk to him about what he's going through and all this. And he's got an interesting life, and I've worked with Ken for years, worked with Ken in Dublin as well. So I just wanted to, it's also a way for me to get better at chatting with people.
That's it, man. It's a skill, isn't it? Like, and I think like definitely since moving down here from Dublin, I've noticed that I'm able to engage a lot more with people in conversation, because people down here seem to be more likely to engage with you. Like, you know, so in Dublin, let's say if you have a conversation, like you try and have a chat with somebody, and say walking in the park or something like that, not necessarily will that be received in a way where you would get something back. You know, everyone's very good at saying hello and like, you know, the initial like thing. But like we were walking onto the beach there, I seen like Mags. She does like the laundry. I was like, I loved going in and talking to Mags in the laundry thing. But you know,
where in town?
Yeah, Mags Laundry. Surprisingly enough. And like, yeah, that's just like a real nice interaction that I think if you took that interaction and you put it in a city where people are on top of each other, where the pace is very, very quick, and maybe we're too removed from nature, that interaction it's just not as nice, I think. Anyway. Yeah. From my initial experience. Maybe I'm just like I'm still in the honeymoon phase of moving down, but now definitely I've noticed that people are more likely to engage in a conversation with you down here and are willing to stop and be slower, because the general pace down here is slower versus the pace being in Dublin being a lot quicker. It is. It's slower, but it's also what you have to give. Like if you have time, you'll spend time. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like if you have, if you're running from one place to another and you've got a full-time job or whatever is happening for you, like you won't have space for those interactions. Whereas I noticed on the first lockdown, I'd leave my apartment in the morning, have a little microdose, go for a walk, and I'd meet people along the way. Yeah. Like there was a coffee shop around the corner from me with two Chinese people working in it, and they were just the nicest couple. They were husband and wife. But I'd spend 30 minutes chatting with them. Yeah. Because I had it. I had 30 minutes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I suppose I think maybe where I'm like looking at that, and I don't want it to sound like I'm saying like if you're in Dublin, you don't you're a no time. I have to run. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just don't have time for this. Okay, where it's like they just don't have time for it. they're giving all they can, you know, in those interactions. Well, I suppose that's the nice thing. That it's not on the people, it's on the environment. Well, so many things are. I suppose like the environment down here being that way lends itself to it, and that's what's so lovely. And I've really noticed it physically in my body, even like in like a state of like relaxation, like being like, oh, like I'm holding myself even nicer down here than I would have done in Dublin, where it's just so much more frantic, like, you know. But when you get into the habit of spending time doing those things that you like, whether it is talking to someone or going to the beach or sitting alone, you'll like, the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be having those conversations. Like sometimes I go into shore and I'm there for 45 minutes chatting with Ben, or your cup is full. Do you know what I mean? Like you filled it up with the nice things that you like doing, and then you're able, like, you know, you can give that cup to people and they can take a little sup out of it. Where like if you're stressed out and like you're not, like, you know, you're not in that state of mind, it becomes very difficult then to engage in any of those things. I always notice how
quick I drive on the days when I'm working versus how quick I drive on the days when I'm off.
Yeah, I love driving slow.
I love driving slow.
Windows down. I'll tell you the perfect combination, right? So windows down in the front, a little bit of heat on the feet. Right? A little bit of heat on the feet, okay? And then just like one arm hanging out the window. That's just lovely. It's just perfect.
Do you keep the arm straight?
No, I let that. No, because I'm terrified from, I think it's from my mom constantly screaming, don't put your hand out the window when I was a kid, that I'm going to put my hand out the window and like Final Destination style, it's going to just take taken off straight out by a lorry.
I thought you were going to tell me your mom has one arm or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so my
Learn
mom,
from me, kids.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's what your mom sounds like.
Yeah, well, she was a pirate for a long time. That's probably where she got that from.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a lovely, I love that. And then that post, like, so I love it as a little, I did it last night. I went down to Ballymoney. I was coming home from Dublin and I text Becky and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be coming up to the house probably about like, so Indy, my 2-year-old daughter, she goes down at like 7 o'clock. But if I come in at like 6:45, that's a bad thing because like she sees me and she's like, right, let's go. Like, we've got 2 more hours left of me, like, you know, so it perks her up too much. So I gave her a text like a behind thing. It kills me because I missed like bedtime, but it's not worth that extra 2 hours in the evening time. Like, we need to watch something, we need to chill out together, we need to have our time. But I text her being like, what's the story? Like, will I come back? If it's like, I'm gonna come back about probably like 20 to a quarter to. And she was like, no, stay away till after, I'll give you a shout. But I was like, yes. As well though. So I went down to Ballymoney Beach, I had a swim, and then I drove from Ballymoney Beach then up to Tara Vale, and like I had a pint, and then I walked back up to the house. So it was so nice to do that.
How's the Tara Vale?
Tara Vale's great.
Fun fact,
Go on.
that used to be our pub.
No way.
Yeah, we used to own that. When we moved down, we bought the Tara Vale and had it for about...
Who's we now? Is this like
my family?
Royal we, the royal we?
Yeah, me and my business partner. When I was 12.
Me and my entourage.
No, my
saved
dad
up a lot
bought...
of money from cutting grass.
Yeah, we used to have a shop in Harold's Cross.
Oh, nice.
And we sold that and moved down.
What was the shop?
It was a Londis Top Shop, but it was Cooney's off license before that, like a grocery store.
Oh, okay. Where was that? Harold's Cross? Cooney's Loft. That rings a bell. My family are in like they deliver papers.
Okay.
So I could know like shops around Dublin really well.
That more than likely
probably
have
that
delivered
name.
to
I've
us.
seen that name probably loads of times.
That was a big thing in the mornings, was getting all the delivery of the papers, putting in the inserts and all that.
Yeah.
That's gas. Yeah. Now we were just across the road from, I think, a bike shop that used to be on the corner facing the park.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I don't have an image of that street in my head right now, but the name where I remember it is, there's these dockets, there's these sheets of paper that like they go on the front of like a bundle of newspapers, and like and the process of actually like getting news and getting the newspapers into the van, it's burned in my brain, because like when I was a kid, what I used to do was I used to sit in the back of the van, and then my uncle, my granddad, and my dad, they all did it. So depending on who it was, like let's say my dad would be at the top, they would come down a shoe, like the bundle of papers, in the Irish Times, which used to be on Princess Street in the city centre, like it's where like Penny's is and the George's Arcade there, and then they moved it out to like City West, which is like shit, because it used to be like this beautiful like old sort of building, like, you know, loads of history around it, and then it's in this sterile kind of like industrial estate now. Kind of a metaphor for journalism. So then what happened was, you'd be in the back of the van and my dad would call out the name of the shop and he would throw the paper back, and I would have to remember what part of the van I should put the paper in, because you would take the papers from the back of the van into the van. So let's say your last shop will be your first paper at nearest your seats type thing. So the name Cooney's, like, you know, that name, like, I somewhere in my brain I can remember it, because there's loads and loads of shops that like were just like, you know, screamed out at loads of periods of time. Wild. Yeah, so that's deadly. I've got another one of those stories. Like it's weird when people are like linked, like, you know, think about like these cross paths and stuff with that, like where, you know, like our lives were like linked for like a split second there, like in some kind of form. I've got a nice one with like my partner Becky. Like there's we originally when I was born, I lived in the city centre in St. Teresa's Gardens on Cork Street, and then my granny, she lived in a house on like just off like Camden Street. So I would walk like up from our house and then up through like Stephen's Green, and then up to my granny's house like every day when I was like a really young baby or young kid. And we would go through Stephen's Green, and Becky's dad had bought this bear which was in Stephen's Green. Do you remember the bear? It was a big, huge fucking teddy bear, and it was outside like United Colour Benetton or wherever the fuck that shop is. In there.
I don't know. I feel like my brain is going, come on, Liam, you can remember.
Yeah,
no, I don't think I do.
So I used to walk past that every day as a kid, and I'd go over and I'd say hello to the bear, and I'd like shake the bear's hand. It was like my fucking thing when I was a kid. So like every day I would do this to this bear that my future partner's dad had purchased and given as a donation. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, like what a little link. We only figured that out when we first started like kind of seeing each other. It was one of those moments of like, oh,
that's wild.
Yeah, romantic.
I used to when I worked in LinkedIn.
Okay,
I just worked as a barista, but I found out that there's two guys in there. We used to ask everybody their names. And there's two guys who worked on the same German team. They're both called Stefan.
Okay,
they were both the same age. They both had,
what a German name.
Yeah, they both had Brazilian girlfriends.
Right.
And they figured out about 6 months into working with each other that they had met on like a lad's holiday in somewhere like Ibiza or something like this 10 years ago, and didn't realize until about 6 weeks into working with each other. Both the same name, both from the same city in Germany.
That's wild.
Stefans. I was going to make it like a mini documentary.
Yeah, they should have
them.
their own thing, shouldn't they? They should be doing a podcast. If they're not, they're idiots. Then we need to get onto them.
Yeah. No, lovely guys, Stefan and Stefan.
So you worked in LinkedIn as a barista? Because I don't know, because like we have a weird kind of like thing where we've like to all the listeners out there, we met each other through like me coming down to Hungry Bear, I suppose, and like saying hello and us being two gentlemen, and then from there it went to we were shooting the movie down here, and then you came in and you did some of the movie stuff, and like it's been but I don't know, but so I feel like I know you a lot, and like I would talk to you loads, but then we don't know any backstory.
Yeah,
give me your backstory, Liam. I need to know.
It's a lot, as in like, where does one start with a backstory? I suppose when I finished school, I went to be a chef. I went down to Waterford IT to do chefing.
Okay.
It's like a Fáilte Ireland course.
Is it called chefing?
Yeah.
Is
chefing.
It really?
No.
It seems like...
What was it? Professional cookery.
Okay.
Yeah. So...
doing the chefing.
Just doing the chefing down in Waterford.
Waterford's an interesting place as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But like, do you want to see the lectures I had?
Right.
They were nice, but they were fucking farmers. Like,
immediately my mind went to John Favreau and chef. I thought that was going to be a lecture. No, nowhere near as cool.
Just picture a farmer.
Right.
Big burly farmer, like massive
big
hands. Corned
beef farmer.
But knew a little bit about cooking.
Okay, yeah.
But like
just made stew.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it was good crack, but
hearty meals, I'd imagine.
Oh, it was all like traditional shite. There was no room for like.
What was so okay, so the team of the like was there like a team to the course, like to the degree or to the course, like was it like because they made hearty shit, was it like, because I always think about cooking as like, you know, there's French cooking, there's all these different, so you have all,
like, you go through all these, like, mostly the basis trained. is it comes from France, so a lot of the original recipes that you learn are from France.
Yeah,
but like you'd have one class which is larder, which is all butchering and stuff like that. You'd have one class which is pastry. So I wasn't very good at that because kind of,
that's a direct science.
Yeah,
that's not
pretty
for
much
artists. I don't think that's for like.
Then you'd have, I think, you know, food science, or not even food science. The course wasn't that good, but you'd have like, I can't even remember. But basically, one class a week you'd do production. So you're in a kitchen and you're serving the people of the college.
Okay.
Or mostly the lecturers.
That must have been fun. Did you get to eat a lot of food then? Like nice
food
that got
like
made? That's lovely.
Yeah, but like every day you got fed, which was nice. But yeah, like it was just, I don't know, there was something about it. It just wasn't. It wasn't like college.
Yeah,
it was like going to work a lot of the time. But yeah, the lecturers were mad. They were real aggressive as well. There was no like they don't teach you how to like deal with stress or any of that kind of stuff. They just go, here's a few recipes we're going to learn today, or here's some, you know, cut of beef we're going to master. Or
that's, I think, like in Japanese culture, like you would go and you would find like a master. You would find someone that would take you on as an apprentice, take you on as an understudy, and you would learn the discipline, like, and you would devote your life then to helping that person as well, you know, so there's again an interchange of skill sets. And I think like I much favor that to learning something like that. I imagine that's a much nicer way of doing it and will be more in line with myself versus like going and learning something like that in college, where you learn it like, because you're trying to, I suppose it's like personal training, where one-to-one personal training and group training, like if you train someone in like a one-to-one basis and you train someone in an 8-to-1 basis, the 8-to-1 basis has to be diluted because you're trying to give it to the mass, you know, population of people, but it's still effective, like, but it's not as effective as one coach, one person directly like linked to you that's giving you 100% of their like input. And I think those environments like that, like I studied engineering in college. Fucking engineering. I'm the least engineered person in the world. So like I never did woodwork or anything tech drawn or anything. I just, do you know what it was? I was all the way through like secondary school doing like art and music and like being a daydreamer, and then I just got afraid when I left school. When I was going to leave school, I was like, oh my god, I need to get like a job. Like now's the time when I grow up. Now's the time when I have to be like a man. And I was like, well, what do they do? You know, I was like, oh,
what,
well,
men? What do men do?
Men do engineering.
Well, you must have been fairly decent in school then if you were able to go to engineering college.
No, I was terrible in school. Like, I just am like...
How did you manage to get into an engineering course then?
I'm oddly intelligent in weird ways. So, like, I think I have a good mind I'm quite analytical. Like, although... So yeah, so I like when things make sense. I like maths. I like physics, but I don't like it from a practical standpoint. That doesn't sound accurate. Because
so you're kind of just naturally kind of smart in those areas.
Yeah, I was able to just bluff my way into that as well. Like I think, you know, like if you think about the Leaving Cert, like, and you have to get X amount of points to get into this course, like, you know, like I mean, what is it, you know, really? Anyway, like the Leaving Cert is a joke. It's just this thing that you do, and you can very easily crack that and say, I'm gonna like, so this hurts me a little bit. I actually only opened this up recently because I read an Irish book that I couldn't fucking read. I made up my own Irish to my daughter the other day, and I was like, I just sacrificed Irish in the Leaving Cert. I was like, right, I'm not going to do Irish, but I'm going to do it because I have to do it. But I'm just not going to put any effort into that. And I streamlined that. I was like, right, I'm really good at history. I'm really good at English. I'm really good at maths. So I was like, I'll just like kind of focus on those and get like really good points in those ones. And then like the rest of the shit, I'm bound to just kind of pick up some stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I think like with those kind of tests, if you're a logical thinker, well, you can see that and you can say, well, I could probably get what I want out of this by just focusing on this. But school would want you to be better at everything in an all-round way, where no one is better at everything in an all-round way. You have to pick your battles.
I was not a logical thinker in school.
No.
I was not a good learner.
Yeah.
I couldn't just store information because I wasn't interested in any of it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then I wish I'd known more about how English would benefit me in terms of acting. But I just didn't, because they tell you what emotions they want you to feel from the text. They say, Evan Boland wrote this poem and it displays emotions of X and Y, and you have to now write about why those emotions are triggered. But what if I don't feel those emotions? Yeah. You know, it's stupid how they teach English.
Well, I mean, what you're trying to do there is you're trying to show somebody something that is like subjective and something that is not really tangible, like in a very kind of like structured way. Like here's the expression of the human condition and art inside of something, and we've read about it, and this is what you're gonna learn. So this is your opinion is not as important as the opinion that's in the book. So like, because art is in the eye of the beholder. Like what you see and what you hear and what you feel is what the art is.
Yeah.
So whatever, that's why fucking, you know, Slipknot resonates with somebody, and you know, Roy Orbison resonates with somebody else. Like in the same way, they ring the same bells maybe, but they're different. And I think with English and stuff like that, like, yeah, just real nice stuff being butchered by, because the product has to be to educate the children, to give them this information and boil it down. Yeah, teachers do their best job. I'm grateful for one teacher that I had, right, and I only had her for a short period of time. I think she got knocked up and then she had to leg it. But she was an English teacher.
Did you knock her up?
No, I didn't knock her up. No, more's the pity. But she was, she was just great. Like, so I remember, and I had a real contrasting experience with this before that. So I had another teacher, an English teacher, that just like hated me, like just didn't like me at all, and just, I feel like she really singled me out. I was probably a bit of a douchebag though, because I was a typical like egocentric like young man, like just raging around with a big erection, and like is
that a medical thing or?
No, it's what you get as a teen. You get a big stiffy on you, and you get it just before the class bell rings as well in school. And you have to hide your shame up in your belt buckle. And yeah, so this teacher didn't really like me very much, and that was English, and I didn't really like English because of that. So we had like
I had that with history.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
I dropped history after first year because of it.
Fuck that, man.
I know.
Pick it back up again. Let's get a fucking Napoleon documentary on right now. But yeah, so this other teacher that came in, she like, I don't know what happened anyway, she only came in for a period of time, and she was mad for poetry, and I just like went to that, and I was like, and I just I don't know, she just let me be like comfortable enough to be like, oh, I can talk about that poem, or I can talk about that, and she's like, well, what do you see? And I had an interesting enough perspective on certain things, and I think she was like, oh my god, someone's actually interested in this group of 30 people about poems. And that for me just opened up a big thing. And then I had a good relationship with a religion teacher, and I only had a good relationship with the religion teacher because he was into Bob Dylan, and he like and he would talk to me about that, and I think like that like kept me just enough of a distance, like close enough to that stuff, that material, and like the concept of school for me to be interested in it. But I think if I didn't have those interactions with those people, I think that I wouldn't have had any interest at all in school, which who knows how that would have played, you know, like maybe to a positive, maybe to a negative. But it was that was probably what gave me the interest in English, because I probably didn't have it before then. Yeah. And I think that's again for acting and stuff like that, and I suppose like to be like, for like, you know, to take direction, and to take like, and for like to be given a well done or something like that, or like to be seen in a moment, to say, you know, or you get it, like, you know, you whatever it is, like whatever that's trying to be conveyed through the piece of art, that you can like link into that and contribute that in some way, shape or form, like for that to be recognized by another person, and to do that together, then that's such a lovely feeling. And I think like in acting and stuff like that, I think if you can try and get that feeling and then keep that and then run with that, and like use the momentum of that to spearhead other emotions and other feelings and other authentic experiences, like you're really into something then, you know, and it's really thrilling, and it's in your body. I think like what we talked about, the problem is that me and Liam have spent like 2 hours now talking pretty much before this podcast and now we went for a sauna and a swim, and we're very, very sleepy.
Yeah, we should probably do the podcast first next time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Or bring it into the sauna with us.
I was thinking of that when we were in there.
I don't think the microphones would hold up.
Do you know what I went in with? Like I bought these shitty little earbuds before in like Mr. Price or something like that, and I was like, I wanted to go in and see if they'd work in the sauna, and they worked for like 15 minutes, and then they just burned out. I mean, like,
why are you doing this to us?
We're technology.
Yeah, no.
We need some heat protected AI in the future that can, like a robot that can come into the sauna with you.
Well, at least if AI does take over, we know where to go.
Sauna.
Just sweat it out in the sauna.
Exactly.
And become stoned men for the rest of our lives.
That'd be great. That'd be a lovely,
just
nice
zero moisture in our bodies left.
Like a prune. Yeah. Like those little banana peel things, you know, those like dried out banana things that you get in like muesli.
Oh yeah.
Dried fruit is a weird thing, isn't it?
I like them in muesli, but I would never seek to buy dried fruit in any other capacity.
Of course not. Your name's not Irene and you're not an 8-year-old woman.
Excuse me, young man. Where might I find?
Where do you keep the dried foods?
Oh, is it for your dog? No.
We were in like Maxi Zoo the other day, and I had the 2 girls with me, and like I was like, I lost Indy for a period of time in Maxi Zoo. I was like, oh shit. I was trying to look around for her, and she was down at, you know, where they have like the dog snack things. She was just like head in there, just eating dog snacks, like, just crunching down on these little dog biscuits.
Very good.
Go get it.
Yeah.
But those little dog biscuits, they remind me of like a dried fruit. Or did you ever see those like pig's ears, dried out pig's ears and all that kind of stuff for dogs? Do you have a dog?
No. Well, my housemate does.
Okay. What type of dog?
It's like a mutt.
Alright.
A mongrel.
It's just
it's weird. It's like it's lovely.
Interracial
She's
dog.
lovely. It's her name is Holly.
Okay.
And
It's a
she's
nice
small and she's got wild hair, which I'd love to shave.
Yeah.
But
she probably looked like a rat.
yeah, I don't know.
It's scary enough, I'd say.
There's just hairs kind of everywhere at the moment, but I won't get into that.
Yeah,
just in
yeah,
case.
yeah. Oh, look. A little bit of colour there. We have a cat.
I like cats.
Her name is Biscuit.
You can kind of leave them off.
Do you know what? Like, she's going through a pretty good time at the moment.
Good time.
Yeah, she is. She's going through some stuff. She was a house cat,
Okay.
and when we moved down here, we used to live in like an apartment, and then we moved to a house. And the house was shit, but the nice times were in the apartment. But then when we came down here, like obviously we have a back garden and stuff, and now she's out the back all the time, like roaming around and stuff. Like she's a little short hair Persian exotic, so she looks like Garfield, and she's tiny, so she's like,
Oh yeah.
she's
Nice.
like maybe maybe 2 hands like big.
Yeah. I like small cats. I
yeah.
don't like those big like.
Yeah, next door, Gary and Kat, they've got like a Maine Coon called Theodore
Coon.
Get that Maine Coon out there by Nova
They
Scotia.
used to call me the coon.
I used to know a truck driver called Coon. His favorite drink was Coonanny juice.
Coonanny.
But yeah, so she's now is outside all the time, and like she's different. Like she's like walking around different. She's like, you know, she's like, oh, fucking hell.
I killed a mouse today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, it's a ladybird. All your ladybirds better know that this is Biscuit's back garden. So yeah, she's really yeah, she's different. But my fucking God, Laura, she lives a rough enough life, because like Indy just like runs around after her, like picking her up and stuff.
Yeah,
She
kids
can't
don't
get,
have like a soft. They don't have like play nice. You know,
They don't have like a break away from it either. It's too tempting. It's
grab.
like, here's a little furry thing that's gonna walk across me, and I'm gonna pick this fucker up, and I'm gonna walk around with him. And then so she's just like is so tactile. She's like running from one place to the next. She's like, where is this giant? Because I'd imagine it's like a giant kind of chasing you. Because like Indy's like a giant to her. So like she's walking around, and then all of a sudden this big person comes over and picks me up and tries to run away with me. That'd be terrifying. Imagine that happened to you, Liam.
Like
Imagine
now,
you're walking,
yeah.
Imagine right now, like if you're walking on the main street in Gorey, and then a big gigantic like monster in a nappy that shat themselves.
But it's funny, like
to pick you up.
I find it insane that we're the most intelligent species. As in, like, imagine there was something that was taller and more intelligent than us.
Well, Liam, I'm glad that you brought it up, because let's start talking about them giants out there. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm so like, I just can't help myself with that kind of stuff, though.
Yeah.
I can't help myself think of like giants, and I really want to believe that there's like a subspecies of human that is still out there that we will find, that are just big fuckers that are living in some trees in the middle of the Congo or something, and they just do it. It's like, excuse me.
Can't do that in a podcast. I apologise to all our listeners. Should there be any listeners?
Yeah, exactly. I apologise to me and Liam listening to this back.
But it goes the other way. Imagine there was like tiny humans walking around. I'd love that.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People, man.
Or like,
Have you not seen the film?
no.
There's a film called Darby O'Gill and the Little People. That's like a leprechaun film from back in the day in Ireland. It's actually decent enough.
But I want proportions to be the same, just smaller.
That's our good old Darby.
That'd be class.
Yeah. Like pygmies. One of the nicest experiences I ever had in my life, right, was I was sitting on an upturned bucket of paint on a balcony in Madrid when we were over visiting a friend of ours, Esther. She lives over there. We're going over for her wedding. Shout out to Esther and Daniel Gutierrez. And I sat out on this balcony. We went over to visit them, and I was sitting there, and I ate a fouet and some like really processed cheese and these little crackers, and I was listening to this. I think it's Sapiens was the book I was listening to at the time, and this guy was talking about his experience of living with the pygmies. So he went over, or the story that he was talking about, we went over anyway, and yeah, he lived with this like tribe of like little tiny people, and basically this one little tiny woman was like, "Hey, what's up?" And so they did it, and like he had like a romantic relationship with her, and like all they would do all day was dance and sing and lash each other out of it.
Nice.
And like, yeah,
Did
what
she
a
get
life.
pregnant?
I don't know if she got pregnant and if she would have a big baby or a small baby. I'm not sure how that would work or how it would play out. Probably a medium baby. But anyway, that but they're out there. They're right there now. They're out there all around the world, the little people.
Pygmies
Pygmies in the Congo.
Pygmies.
Yeah. Just completely, do you know, that's fascinating, isn't it? Like, people that live completely different lives to us, like worlds that are completely different to the world that we occupy. You know, if you think about like our existence and our life now and like what we have in Ireland, you know, we're an island, like this little island, this little nation, but we live in such a technological age when like access to information, access to technology, access to advances in that technology are so instantaneous. Like, it's so like, you know, think about fucking getting a new phone and you're like, oh my god, my
straight
phone.
on Google.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be an expert in anything phones for the next 24 hours, because any thought that comes into my head about phones is going on Google, and I'm gonna find out what I need to know about that.
Yeah.
Like,
and then they'll find you. They'll come
like
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was having a conversation the other day where I like twice it happened where I had like quite a like an out there idea, and then straight away I got a message, like a DM on Instagram requesting from a company that were basically providing that service, asking did I want to join up for like their newsletter type thing. I was like, how like in depth is this? Do you know, like how much are they listening? And then
I'd say we haven't got a fucking breeze as to what technology can do in terms of.
Oh, we definitely don't. Because if you think about like what we have now, like readily available to us, like and the general public, like that's like the bottom, that's the lowest hanging fruit. So like what's available then to governments, and then what's available to military, and then what's available to, you know, whatever the fuck is above that. Like, you know, we'll only probably see that filter into mainstream like in the next 50 years or so. You got to get enough out of something. You got to get, you got to juice it for all it's worth. So if you have a piece of technology now, or medicine, or whatever the fuck else it is, like something that is monetarized and something that can make money, you need to make enough money out of it. Like, you'll let a business they'll let that product peter out before they introduce the next boom, you know, because they want to maximize their potential, maximize their profits. And that's unfortunately the kind of the landscape that we live in because of that.
What should we talk about now that'll generate some wild ads for us for the next week?
Wild ads?
Like as in targeted ads.
It has
to be really different.
What would you like to get? Like, what would you like to see? Like, what would be
different range of fleshlights?
Okay, so do you know when I think about that, I think like there has to be a technology now like that can just give you a blowjob. There has to be a fleshlight. No, yeah, the mouth.
Is it
the gagger?
Makes the noise.
Yeah, like that has to be a thing now, doesn't it? Like, that has to be.
Yeah, with increased saliva capabilities.
Yeah, like that has like functions and all like that. You can. I would hope to see the day that when you can talk to the sex toy, and the sex toy can then like reciprocate what you need and your needs. So, you know, you're like, oh baby, just give me a little more to the left, and like it does it in real time. That's the kind of AI that I want to get to.
That's Elon, the kind of relationship that I want to get to.
It's beautiful. So you've got the basketball under the coffee table, Liam.
Yeah, the basketball.
You want to go 1-on-1 with the great one?
There's like courts just up the road there.
What are you saying, Liam?
But I don't get out there enough.
Where is the courts up here?
There's basketball courts up, like literally up the road. There's also.
Do you know where it's cool? Gorey
Park.
Gorey Park.
Yeah.
Gorey, the playground and all. That's steady.
Yeah, they've redone that.
It's really nice.
Used to be real like scumbaggy.
Yeah, but it's great now. Good for them.
Nice.
It's like a really nice place. The playground's class. The little gym thing is cool. What doesn't make sense to me is the kettlebells that are on poles.
What?
There's like a kettlebell. They've got like a couple of kettlebells, but they're on like a pole that runs up through the kettlebell, so you can only lift it up and down.
Okay.
Like you can't like swing it around like that, which kind of like defeats the purpose of a kettlebell.
Yeah.
I always thought about those like outdoor gyms, and I wish that in Ireland, instead of putting in ridiculous stuff
like the swingy arm thing with the legs.
That's just like no one. Like who's doing that? Like, you know, the little Asian woman that goes for a walk at 10 a.m. She's doing it, but she's not getting anything out of it. But fair play to her though. But the gyms are just terrible. So, but I would love, and I think it wouldn't cost a lot, right? If a public park, you could like rent out like equipment, like, so let's say like you entered into this like. I haven't worked out all the kinks, but I'm going to do it now, right?
Like a vending machine for weights,
kind of, right? Maybe it's a vending machine, but maybe it's a person that's in a little hut or something like that, and like it's like fucking pitch and putt. You know, when you rent the fucking thing, you can go up and go, I need a kettlebell, I need an 8 kilo kettlebell, I need a.
That's a really good idea.
And then you get it, you go into the park, you do the workout, and then you bring it back.
Do you want me to edit this out, because chances are someone's going to steal this idea?
I hope someone steals this.
You should get on to like Gorey County Council and see, can you fucking start this up?
That's like, again, that's something that I've thought of loads, right? But I think
I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, so like I think that would be a really cool idea if you went in and there was like a little shed and they had, imagine even like there was like a
giving you bowling shoes, but instead of bowling shoes it's weights.
Yeah, even if they had like a rower.
Yeah.
Like, or like a, and I'm sure if you made that little space anyway, what you would have is you could get some kind of personal trainer or coach or whatever like that's interested in this. They will take that and occupy that as their space. They can maybe do like, you know, coach sessions, like, you know, one-to-one sessions and stuff like that. And then the knock-on effect of that would be that you could staff it with that person. Do you know? So like in return for them being able to do that and access that equipment, they would staff it for free, like for free, because it's in their benefit to do that. And then they can give it out, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it would cost nothing to make it happen.
As long as they're getting the PT sessions or whatever they need to do to make their money.
Yeah. But so like you could book it like an hour, so you could, well, you would definitely get that, I think. Like if you were decent and you were in a park and like you were good, like a good trainer and a social person, and
very weather dependent though.
Yes, very weather dependent. But my thing with this always is, and like this is something that I've had to work at really hard, was like if it's raining, like it's not fucking acid rain.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Just go outside and do it, like, you know? So like that definitely will be, like, I know that's a stumbling block for a lot of people, but the health benefits in that would be tenfold what it would be to do some, like, maybe some other thing that's not as accessible as just going outside when the weather is bad. So yeah, you could do it like with like a little kind of gazebo style thing over the top as well, I'm sure.
Next time we rock up to Ballymoney Beach shop, they're going to have like weights for rent and all this kind of stuff.
They should do that. That would be a great idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool. That fair play to the lads.
Yeah, Dylan Fitzpatrick and Tara. Tara, sorry, I don't know your surname. But Dylan, like, he has that supplement shop in Gorey.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And he's really busy. He's always sending out packages and stuff. And just a decent entrepreneur and a decent person as well.
That's so
I play golf, not with Dylan, but he's usually in the group behind me on Thursday nights in Courtown Golf Club.
What is the Courtown
Golf Club?
What? Jerry Adams is
coming. No problem at all. I play off. I have a low handicapper.
You're not supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry. What's PC word of saying handicap now?
So, do you play golf often?
Mostly in the summer times when it's dry. I don't really like going out in the wet because it's really hard to play on soggy ground.
And we've just talked about
I know,
this.
yeah, but maybe this is the transition for me.
Yeah, but golf is also probably one of those things where I'd imagine it's not very enjoyable if the golf course is all mucky.
Yeah, because if you're not a professional golfer, you're gonna hit the ground. See, what you want to do is hit the ball first and then ground after. That's like the professional way of playing golf. What happens is when you're not a professional, it's really hard. It's a small ball. You've got a small club, and there's a lot of distance between you swinging the club. So to hit the ball first with clean contact is really hard. So when the ground is hard, you can kind of get away with hitting it a few inches back or not so much forward. But if the ground is hard, you'll scoop the ball and it'll probably work out. But if the ground is wet and you hit it about 2 inches back, you're just going to take a chunk of the ground and the ball's not going to go far at all. Yeah. So that's why I don't play in the wintertime. But it's a great game. I fucking love playing golf. It's so hard, but that, like, when you do start to play well, it's like drugs.
I've never had the urge, really, but I've thought about it a couple of times where I'm like, that's a really nice way of getting outside for like 3-4 hours. And I'd imagine it's nice to go around at that pace with other people as well, to like just chat and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. But I don't know, like it's
still a bit stuffy, like it's set in the past, like you have to wear certain clothes and stuff like that.
It's not exactly very rock and roll, is it?
That's slowly kind of weaning out thanks to like younger players.
Thank you, Happy Gilmore, of course. Big shout out to Happy. What a legend. Yeah, you know,
so good.
What a film.
Yeah.
Did you like Adam Sandler?
Loved Adam Sandler.
I feel like Adam Sandler and Jim Carrey just were like the pair, like that came at a time, you know, kind of like, was I preteen or was I teen or what the fuck was happening? But anyway, like Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy,
Ace Ventura, those kind of movies.
Yeah, exactly. They were just perfect, weren't they?
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy was amazing.
My brother now is huge. Like he could recite from start to finish all the Happy Gilmore movies.
They're so quotable, aren't they? They're so like beautifully quotable.
But that was another podcast I was thinking of, is to take movies like that and to watch them once and then try and recite from start to finish the entire movie.
No way. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you know what would be cool? Like if you had like milestones in the movie. So you know like it goes from here to here and here to here. So, you know, guy that doesn't play golf falls into golf. Guy that falls into golf becomes really good at golf, or it has a natural thing to it. And then you just kind of talked about it like in your own thing. So you have maybe two people kind of act it out. Actually, as I say it out, it sounds like a terrible idea.
Wait, are we talking about like movies that are already movies?
Yeah. So like you could like, do you know what I seen recently? I seen a lot of guys doing, I think it was like Tony Campbell. I seen doing like a table read of like a Star Wars or something.
Oh yeah, that's
I was like, that's a great fucking idea. Just get a load of people in a room just to do a table read of like a famous movie, but also then just as like, you know, as themselves or as the characters. We used to do
that. We used to do that. This guy called Chris Brennan got in touch with me before. American guy, really lovely guy, and we used to get together and do unproduced sci-fi films that never got made.
No way.
So we did it in Comic-Con in Dublin.
Cool.
But we'd rent out, where was it? Where the fuck did we do them? Grand Social or somewhere like that.
Okay.
And we would podcast them as well, so they're available for podcasts. I completely forgot about this.
Where are they? Where can people
Story
find them?
Storybreakers. Go into the Storybreakers podcast and you'll find all of them. We did an unproduced Star Wars. We did an unproduced Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, that's fun.
Alien. Yeah. Did a good few of them and they were just crack. Like we just.
Yeah, I'd love to do something like that. Yeah. Definitely. Like just to read through like something that's, you know, I love I love cover songs. Like I have like a chub on me to find like a good cover of like of a nice song. Do you know? And I think like with movies and stuff, fucking Gary, the director of Bad Things, he was saying to me the other day that he was like, Heat was actually a movie before it was. I didn't know this, and then they just remade it again.
That came up in an acting thing I was watching before, with that scene where they're sitting in the
the famous fucking You Keep Me Hot.
And in the original movie, it's so dramatic, and the two characters are locked on, and then the contrast of De Niro and Pacino just having a chat. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But I don't know. I've never seen the actual full movie. The other one.
I've never seen the full movie, but that's something that I'd like to. I love the idea of like just remake it, just like do. But yeah.
What other movies would you remake?
It's if I was going to remake a movie, if I was going to be involved in it, I would love to remake Office Space. Mike Judge, Office Space. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh, it's so good. It's basically about this guy, right? And he hates his life. He works in some shitty office, and his like bird is like constantly on him all the time. And she like says he needs to go to this. What are they called when they like put you in hypnosis? Like
a hypnotist?
There you go. So, so he goes to this hypnotist, and the hypnotist like starts doing the treatment on him, and he's like, you're gonna fall into a deeper state of relaxation, and all your stresses and your anxiety and all this stuff is gonna go away and whatever, and blah 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 blah. And then the fucking hypnotist, he has a heart attack and dies. So then this guy is constantly stuck in this state of like,
oh no,
of like just relaxation and chill. And basically it shows him going into his place of work and then just being relaxed, and because he's relaxed, he moves up the ladder and ends up being like this like guy that's fucking, and then he comes up with a team to rob money from the office and all this kind of stuff. But it's really funny. But
why would you want to remake it?
I just love that movie. I love that movie, and I love I just love the aesthetic of it as well. Like it looks really nice, and I think like if you redid it again, I could see it being like, I don't know, like a Seth Rogen or something like that, like playing like the lead in it or something, or like it's just a great fucking premise to a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
What would you remake?
I don't know. I've watched some shitty movies before, but I wouldn't want. I think you're right in saying that there are some good movies that you could probably see done different ways.
Even if you did them like you did them again,
different actors. And
yeah, different actors, different like even a different maybe like world, So like, it's not set in fucking America. It's set in Ireland, or it's set in fucking
do
you know, that type of thing. Like, what if Die Hard was set in Ireland? Like, what if that was happening? That'd be great.
What would he say instead of yippee-ki-yay?
Get up the yard.
Get up the yard, yeah.
Get up the yard, smell a Benji. You little bollocks, you. Something like that. But like, we'd have to find a big enough building. Like, there's no Nakatomis in Ireland.
There's that. What's that? What is that building? The tallest one in town, just off the Liffey, up beside, across from the
Liberty Hall or something.
Across from Bus Éireann.
I know the one, the big huge tall SIP2 building.
Yeah, SIP2 building. Yeah. That'd be the closest to.
That's the Nakatomi, isn't it? We'd have to get there. You kind of look like a little bit like Bruce Willis, but also then a little bit like the guy that tries to give him cocaine in The Office with that beard. John Booby. That guy.
Do you know who somebody compared me to recently? I was sitting in Casey Daly's, and the guy I was sitting beside, I didn't know him, but he turned to me and he goes, "Here, man, you look like Cowboy Cerrone."
Oh, you kind of do look a bit like Cowboy.
With the cap on, I kind of do, yeah.
He's gone into movies now.
He's fighting tonight, I think.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. He's been pretty unlucky with
no, he's getting too old.
2 fights or something. They were called off or postponed. I think there was an injury on both from either fighter.
He's great to watch, but he doesn't.
He does like loads of shit.
Doesn't really win anymore.
Outside of fighting, though, doesn't he? As well, like he's like a real thrill-seeking type of guy.
Yeah.
And he
lives on a ranch, like he's class.
He's just fucking.
That's what I'd love. Is just to have that kind of money to just do fun things all the time.
Absolutely, just freedom.
Ride a horse. Do you ever ride a horse?
I've never rode a horse. No, I can't. Like, I don't know. I don't like anything that moves faster than I can move. Like, unless it's a car, like I'll get in a car.
You want to be the fastest thing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, bigger, faster, stronger. No, it's the fear of like fucking falling off that thing. I don't even like riding a bike.
Really?
Like, yeah, I'm not really into it. I like to travel at my own pace, and like if the thoughts of getting on a horse and a horse galloping off, I can imagine it's an insanely freeing experience. I have a tattoo on my chest of the Pharaoh's horses.
Okay.
So I've got like 3 horses on my chest. I like the idea of like a horse. I like the idea of a horse running on a
horse.
Horse. I like whores as well, but mainly horses. But if you see a flock of whores on top of horses, it's a magical sight.
Yeah.
But no, like a horse, like I don't know.
We used to go horse riding up the Dublin mountains. My aunt had a horse, and this mad place up the mountains called the Paddocks.
Okay.
Oh, name dropping.
Shouldn't, but I did.
We'd go up, and just go nuts.
Yeah.
Like you'd gallop away.
I
like,
imagine it's
it's
very
class.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
We've gone out on Sandymount Strand, and it is. I would love if nowadays horses could be a mode of transport. There's no such thing as cars. Imagine having a relationship with your mode of transport.
Yeah.
Like giving a little carrot after he gets you to work in the morning.
You'd
Tying him up outside Hungry Bear.
Imagine that. I'd love to see you rock up to Hungry Bear on the back of a horse, tie it up outside. Just like your shift doesn't start for like 10 minutes, so you just lean up you and the horse in a carrot, and then you
tune on some straw.
And you go in. You'd be a lot. I think you would probably be a lot more in tune with the day if you came to work on a horse. You know, you get into work and like it takes you a little while.
Driving's too easy, you know.
It's too easy.
You're still
like,
asleep.
Do you know what driving is? And this is the danger of driving. You could do too many things and drive at the same time. That's why there's so many fucking car crashes. Because like, think of all the shit that people do when they drive. Like, you know, like you shouldn't do this, but people are on their phone all the fucking time.
All the time, and you can evidently see
it's so blatantly obvious that you're on your phone.
No,
like you're looking down and
scrolling.
Phone, yeah, listen, Liam, we all sin.
We're human.
Yeah, it's okay, but like the mind is too busy to be sitting in that space. Like driving is too. It's too autonomous. Is that a word?
Yeah,
is the word I'm trying to get to? Yeah, so it's just too automatic.
Mm-hmm.
You drive an automatic. Like, so
thanks, tell everybody, by the way.
I drive a stick myself.
I know how to drive a stick. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think driving a horse, like, because you've got to actually like fucking ride that thing.
Driving a horse, strap a steering wheel.
Don't drive this horse.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you couldn't be on your phone and like drive a horse, or if you could ride a horse, and,
you're going slow
and scroll through Instagram. You know, you're a special type of thing. Do you know the Comanches or like the Indians?
We're always on Instagram.
Yeah, they're always on Instagram.
Yeah.
They never stop.
Hashtag TP.
Most like most of the Apaches are like those guys, Comanches. They just have like really, really big asses, and they're on Instagram all the time. Huge followings. No, they shoot arrows like off the back of their horses while they're riding full gallop. Like, so they take their hands off and draw a fucking thing and kill. That's just insane.
But a lot of like, if you're a good enough horse rider, you don't need reins. You can kick. You can use your legs to steer a horse.
I am white knuckle riding that thing around the beach. Like, if I got on the back of a horse, that horse would know I'm on the back of it, because I would be fucking holding on for dear life. That's my fear around that. I just don't like the idea of that, and heights. Not big on it. I don't like ladders. So, like, I hate going up. I just hate it. I don't even like being up a little bit higher than what I'm supposed to be.
That's funny, because I would have thought you've got like good balance and stuff.
I do.
Martial arts and all that.
I do have good balance. I don't want that to be ever thought that I don't have good balance. But I just don't like the idea of being like, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm like.
I think heights throw everybody, regardless. Like, even people that like, even climbers are, you know, you're gonna get to a point where it's hard to like look down.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it? Because you can overcome that fear. Then you become a better like climber. Yeah. Like, I'd imagine it gets to a stage where you're like, oh shit, now I'm at the point where I could die.
Well, but
you have to just be like, all right, I can just keep going.
You trust the elements that you've given.
Trust your skill set.
You hold on to the fact that if you are harnessed in, the harness should save you. There's a slight chance that it won't, and that's that little thing that keeps bringing you back, because it's like,
the acceptance of that threat, like that thing. Yeah, that's the little thrill, isn't it? That's
I used to love climbing.
Yeah,
I used to live around the corner from the wall in Sandyford.
Okay, yeah,
it's a really good spot for bouldering.
Nice. Yeah, that's something like rock climbing and shit like that. Like, inside in those controlled environments, like those places have just sprung up. Like, haven't they? There's just like people are just crazy for that. Like,
I would kill for a rock climbing place down here.
So we'll add that to the outdoor gym.
Yeah.
So we'll do the outdoor gym with a rock climbing wall. What else will we add inside of this little place?
A mountain bike park.
Mountain bike park would be very cool.
Yeah, did a lot of that myself as well.
There was a really cool one down in Lucan. There is a really cool one in Lucan in St. Catherine's Park. But it's only like kids like being, well, I don't know, maybe.
Like a BMX park?
Yeah.
There's one of them in Courtown.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Whereabouts is that in Courtown?
Just beside River Chapel.
Okay.
So you know where Jimmy's pub is?
Oh,
right there.
Yeah. I actually have drove into there before. It's is that where they have a park where they've got like it? The signs make it look like there's going to be a big community centre or a big hall there.
Yeah.
You get there and there's a shed.
I actually have never been in there myself, but I've seen the signs and they look like it's.
They look
exciting.
like there's a big building there. It's not very exciting.
I really
at all.
need to pee, so
yeah, go for it, man.
We're gonna pause
this.
this. Feel free to shoot the breeze while I'm away, but
okay.
I'm going commando right now.
Nice. I'd never wear boxers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I stopped wearing boxers a long time ago. It was mainly a necessity because we just don't really wash. Not that I don't wash, but we don't wash our clothes like readily enough. Mag's laundry, I wouldn't put that on you if I was to send down a set of skid stained Calvin Kleins. I wouldn't be able to look Mags in the eye. So yes, I just kind of stepped away from boxers a long time ago. My ultimate comfort is if I wear a pair of shorts with no boxers and just a shirt on top and a pair of flip-flops or a pair of Birkenstocks or a pair of Crocs. That's pretty much it. So yes, I'm just kind of rambling on here now because Liam's piddling in the other room beside me, so on my left ear I can hear his little Willy Winkle shooting off into the potty. Well, this is a lovely space that he's got here. It's really nice. I have the remnants of a poo. I think I might need to do a poo poo. Probably way too much poo talk and lower region talk while he's gone away. You're back, Liam. Thank God. I was going in a rabbit hole of poo and boxers, and it wasn't good.
I want headphones. I want to talk about bad things, but first, while I was in there, I was thinking about: do you ever have trouble peeing next to people in a urinal?
No, but I don't enjoy the experience.
I generally do.
I can pee anywhere.
If there's a man standing next to me, I don't know what it is, but I do have issues getting the flow started. But I was in Borgosh. I went to see School of Rock.
That's a very frantic. It's supposed to be brilliant.
School of Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of more aimed towards kids. Yeah. It was still fun, like, you know, but it was
the film is like a kid's film.
Yeah.
So
I suppose. But anyway, I was in.
It's not a kid's film. It's a man's film, alright?
Man's film. I had to.
Serious actor.
At the interval, I went down to pee, and there was two men on either side of me because it was chock a block. The first time I've ever seen a queue for. I think it was because it was kids, but there's three of us standing in a line, and none of us could pee because I could see in my peripherals that there was no pee coming out on those sides. So those two gave up, and then I could finally pee. But isn't it crazy? Like I think that's like a.
You shouldn't do that, really. Should you, like, shoulder to shoulder with someone else?
Well,
like, what other thing do you take your like? See, willies are weird, aren't they? Because like as men, so I would be kind of like a drop trow in the changing rooms and just like walk around type guy.
Okay.
And
some people find that very uncomfortable.
Yeah. I even find myself very sometimes. But like it's an odd one. Like if I like, so I think I was telling you this, I used to do sauna like 8 a.m. in the morning, and the only other people that would sauna with me, I did it in like a hotel in Dublin, Castleknock Hotel. Shout out to the boys at Castleknock Hotel. And I would go in there and do a sauna, but mainly it would just be old men with me.
Yeah.
So like
they're okay with it.
Yeah, of course. Everyone's balls are out. So like it's just but in that environment everyone's comfortable, I think it's fine. But if you are in like a changing room where everybody is trying to like guard themselves off, and then if you do that, like you can feel how uncomfortable everybody else is. And I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, so I would cover up in those kind of situations. But my preference would be to have it out and to like get changed comfortably and freely.
Well, you know, I love when I was living by myself, I was always walking around stark.
Yeah, it's so nice,
and especially in here in this nice studio.
This is a lovely place, man.
It's nice spot to just drop trow and keep. No, I'm not saying I walk around with my pants around my ankles. I'll take my pants off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting that, you know.
Do you know what I heard
the other
day?
So uncomfortable.
That Dean, coach that I work with in DSE, he was telling me the other day that sunning your balls, so getting like direct sunlight on your undercarriage, is like so beneficial to us in creating hormones in our body and stuff like that. You flicked me on an article there the other day about like sun in your gooch, and yeah, you imagine like, because that like the skin around there, everything around that, it's so sensitive, and it's so like, it's so what is the word, like receptive to like touch and like and like input, that like if you get sun on your balls, like that the release of like a dopamine and shit like that from that is so high. Yeah. That and not wearing sunglasses are like two of the things that you could do for yourself immediately for a health benefit that like far like surpass like loads of other things that people would put a lot of merit into like traditionally. So yeah, so just get your balls out in the sun and then fucking stare at that sun. Don't stare at the sun, it's not a good idea. Yeah. But if you don't wear sunglasses, I fucking love wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I broke a pair of Ray-Bans like ages ago, and I haven't replaced them since. Now this is probably like 2 years, and it's one of those things, I'm terrible. I'll put things on the long finger for so long. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to get a pair of sunglasses, but for some reason, and it's something that I really want to get, I just won't get it for myself.
Well, just get cheap ones. I
have like a pair of cheap ones in there, but I won't. The problem with me, if I get the cheap ones, like the shitty little fucking, I shouldn't say this, but I actually robbed a pair the other day. They were like just like a random pair that I found on the ground, and I was like,
oh, well, you didn't rob them if you found them on the ground, unless you found them on the ground in the store.
Yeah, the ground was in the shop. No, I'm only joking. But but yeah, but like if I have a good pair of like Ray-Bans, like I'll respect them, because like I don't know what it is. Like maybe
why do you want to respect
like,
your sunglasses?
Yeah, because I want to have a relationship with my sunglasses. Like I want to have the sunglasses have to give me value.
I used to always want expensive sunglasses. Yeah, and
not the expensive pair. Just like I wouldn't have no interest whatsoever in a pair of like a pair of fucking Dolce & Gabbana. It's like sunglasses. I like a pair of like, you know, standard Wayfair Ray-Bans, because it's like symbolic of a. It's just fucking cool. Do you know what I mean? You stick them on you. Now I don't smoke. Right, but if you stick them on you and have a smoke hanging out your lip, I mean, do you know what I mean? You're a pretty cool looking guy. Maybe we'll get picked up by Camel as a sponsor for the podcast.
Camel toe.
Yeah, Camel toe.
Yeah, no, I break glasses too often, so it's like, and I also like, if they look nice and they're not expensive, what's the problem?
There's no problem.
No problem.
But I won't. What my point, I suppose, that I'm trying to make is that I won't keep them. I'll lose them, or I'll do something to them. Where if I have like a good pair, I'll invest. Like I'll think about them.
So going back then, do you find no glasses feels better?
Like no sunglasses feels better. So I've definitely I don't know. Like
sometimes it's too bright.
It is too bright sometimes, definitely. And I squint a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know? I think it gives me like a lot of like lines and stuff like that in my face. But then I quite like that about myself. I like to have like a
suspicious look.
I like to look shifty. Yeah. But no, like, you know, I don't know, fucking. It's definitely, yeah. So there you go. Sun in the eyes, sun in the balls. So that's it. So yeah, bad things. Let's talk about the movie that we did.
I'll just start by saying my introduction to bad things was Angie and Matthias. Yeah. They are rock stars. Matthias is the cinematographer and Angie is the assistant cinematographer.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual term is. Yeah. Is she like a
she's a focus puller.
There
and
you go, puller. Yeah.
But they were coming into the Hungry Bear, and I saw they had a script out, so I just got chatting to them, because if anybody has a script out in front of me, I'm just going to be like, well, I'm an actor, so
yeah, of course, yeah.
And they were like so nice from the beginning, and they seemed so passionate about what they were doing as well. And just by chatting to them and telling them that I was an actor, they were saying things like, "Oh, well, we'll definitely mention your name on the movie." And I was like, "Yeah, okay," you know, as anything like course, that would never go anywhere. So then Gary was coming in, and I was chatting with him about just different things in the movie and stuff like that.
And Gary's the director, right?
Gary's the director. So Gary Walsh. So
big GW Walsh.
Yeah, you know, when you're chatting to someone of like, and usually back in when it was, if I had found out I was talking to a director in the past, I would have gotten real anxious and not knowing what to say. But Gary is he's laid back, and you know, there's no shit about him. He is who he is, and it's very easy to talk to. You're immediately comfortable. Yeah. So Yeah, I said I was an actor, and I sent him on my show reel and all this kind of stuff. And just one evening I got a call from Gary saying, do you want to be in this? We need to recast. And
yeah,
like, that's why we're sitting here today.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. And the story of Bad Things is incredible. So
yeah,
you know, the title of the movie is Bad Things in the Middle of Nowhere. And I suppose it was, for the making of it anyway, a lot of parts of it were bad things in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, it was a really hard, as any independent production I'm sure is. There's lots of barriers and lots of difficulties, but yeah, we got through it like in a cold December and January in Gorey, in the house that I live in now. So we shot the movie in the house. Well, the locations are like between like two main locations. The house is the movie is very much set inside of this little world, which is very, very cool. It's almost like a play. Almost, the movie feels like. It's very cool. But yeah, we just started making it, and then
you didn't know that. Did you know initially that you'd be living in this house eventually?
No. So how that happened was, one day I was staying up in Tierman's, which is the house that was where we shot in the basement
mansion.
Yeah, it was fucking class. So we were staying up in that where we were shooting the movie, and one morning the Gary had set up like cameras everywhere because we were keeping all the equipment in the shooting house. And one morning the fucking cameras went off, and there was someone in the hall, and Gary rang me and we're like, fuck, the house is getting robbed or something like that. So we shot down, and by the time we got there, the guys weren't there anymore. But it turned out that the guys were checking on the house because of the owner potentially was going to sell the house or rent the house out or something like that. And once I got heard like wind of that, then I approached the landlord, Paul, which he's a very, very genuine and very lovely man, and we took the house and we moved in after the movie. So it's weird in lots of ways and lovely in other ways. So, but I only thought of this the other day. I was like, oh, my daughters are going to grow up and they're going to be like, they're going to realize that they grew up inside of effectively a horror house.
So what is Bad Things about?
Bad Things is the story of a group of gangsters, a group of gobshites really, that try and rob a very, very evil mobster family and run off to a hideaway house in the middle of nowhere where it all kind of goes tits up. And yeah, it's exciting. It's so exciting to think of this thing that we made, which is only recent as well, like in terms of like the turnaround time of getting this movie out. The movie's going to be released now in, hopefully, I think kind of around Halloween time. My birthday.
That's my birthday.
That's your birthday?
Yeah.
No way. We'll have a birthday celebration. Yeah, with the movie and your birthday at simultaneous times.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stop the movie halfway through and bring out
I usually call
cake.
my birthday a premiere anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course it is. Red carpet.
Yeah.
Can I come to your birthday party?
Yeah.
Deadly. It's gonna be released, and then it's so weird. It's just I don't, even when I talk about it now, it's like it feels like it didn't happen. I know it happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a surreal experience because I'm pre that, like, I play dancer, alongside Frankie, which is played by Joe McGuckin, and like it's kind of like a back and forth between me and him most of the movie, and lots of other shit happens in between. And I wasn't an actor before this. Gary approached me. So kind of dive into this story. Gary's like my brother-in-law, and he came to me and was like, you seem like the right type of crazy to potentially be an actor and to do a bit of this, and I've written this character and this guy in this role, and I think he's very like you, and would you be interested in maybe kind of seeing what that would be like? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I've always kind of underneath it all been like, oh god, I'd love to be an actor, I'd love to give that a shot, but it just never materialized, or I never took that chance, or felt like that was something that I could do. I suppose it's like that engineering thing. It's like, you think of like, you'd never think like like to be an actor or to be like a performer, really. You think of, well, I don't anyway, I think of like these like set roles.
Mm-hmm.
And then when this came around, I was like, oh, this is so lovely and freeing and just a nice experience and a nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with it instantly.
It's very tight knit as well. Like your Kat's mom was, or
so like it's a family
your
affair.
mother-in-law
really.
was in it as well. Kat was in it. And that's Gary's wife.
Yeah, Gary's wife. Kat Walsh. Kat Lawler Walsh. I don't know, I get in trouble.
It's a hyphenate.
And then Kathy. So, like my daughter, Indy, that's her granny. So yeah, it's mad. It's mad. It's just crazy. And then Dean, is a producer on the film, and he's a cousin. So yeah, we're very little kind of like tight knit inner circle, a little small group that just made a movie.
Yeah.
And it's gonna come out, and who knows what's gonna happen, and it's gonna be received into the world in which way. But we're really proud of it, and we are just so excited about getting this thing out there and getting.
It's gonna be in cinemas.
Yes, it's gonna have a theatrical release in Ireland and the UK. Worldwide, it's already been sold for kind of like worldwide distribution.
Deadly.
So like that's really it. Like, so all the conversation around things is just trying to get the movie done. The guys in Red Robot Films, the production company, they've been working really, really relentlessly and hard. They're actually in Galway now at the moment, finishing up some of the grade and some of the sound. Damo McAvoy is the guy that's composing the music and the score to it. He's actually up on Wednesday to have a chat with us and go through some bits.
Do you have an idea of what sort of style he's going to do? Or
it's very cool, man. He's got like, it's very, very cool. He's got like a very synthy sort of Stranger Things-esque kind of sound to things. He bought this really cool organ.
Nice.
Over from, here's actually a good story. He brought it over and the thing got held up in customs because your man was like fucking, must have been stoned out of his mind playing this organ over in the middle of Germany for the last 20 years until Damo got it, and it got pulled up by these search dogs and stuff like that and held in customs. But he has that, like, he got like this really cool horror box thing and everything that he's doing, although I don't really understand the process, but it's not electronic. Like he originally, like, let's say, wrote all the things on an electronic thing, but everything is done now organically recorded and it's going to be filtered into the film. So yeah, it's so exciting. But yeah, it was. What was it like for you, man? It must have been.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, like, I love being on set, whether I'm just standing there watching or whatever it is. I just love the environment that comes with being on set. I love how everybody has a common goal, and no one's. And maybe I've just been lucky, but generally in my experience, nobody's just there because they're trying to pay the bills. You know what I mean? It's
well, then the art, isn't it? Like, you have to be like, you're there because you absolutely love like this thing that you're doing. Like, you're. But
there's a magic that happens around actors, and when people are acting, there's an energy that happens. It's like we're chatting here, and there's an energy that's happening while we're chatting.
Yeah.
But when you're creating something in terms of acting, if there's a back and forth, or even if you're just watching someone be, there's just, I find that incredible. You're creating a world within your own world, and the parameters are all there to make sure that this world is believable. So when I rocked up to that house, just seeing the lights and stuff outside, and I just love, that's the kind of environment that I'd love to be spending my life. Even if all the bills got paid and I could just spend.
Yeah, fuck the bills.
Yeah.
Like really fuck the bills. It doesn't matter. I think like a byproduct of doing something that you love will be that you pay the bills. Yeah. Because if you love it and if you're invested in it and you're truly like about it, well then it'll all just happen. It'll all just click. It'll all just work out, and that financial kind of reward will come. Because it has to come, because it's a necessity for you to live, to survive, to do the thing that you love. So you create a little ecosystem inside yourself that feeds your desire and feeds your passion and feeds whatever that is for you, that's that there in itself is the key to kind of like, I don't know, to being content in yourself, like in your existence. is finding that thing and finding that niche and then creating that little ecosystem. And that'll change as well throughout your life, I think, like as different things come in, you know, and different flows, different things. So I just love the whole thing of performing, and that's what I got from it. And I got like just such a buzz from, you know, being in those scenes and working. And I'm very, very lucky that I got to work with like really lovely people, like yourself included, and like really talented people as well, yourself included. And I think, yeah, I just want to do that again. And I've, you know, and since Bad Things, kind of dipping in and doing little bits, like it's been lovely to just explore that and to get into it. And yeah, you just get to do things, you get to express
and watching
emotions.
Talent is like, it's like,
well,
it's exciting to watch talent, even if it's whether to it's be in the room, whether it's like, finished or whether it's happening. It's incredible too. It like, because I found even with yourself, like if you hadn't told me you'd never acted before, I would be like, I wouldn't have believed it, because you're just very, you're like, you have this energy about you, you know, and you have this natural ability to just switch your mind off and do it, because that's what it was when I came up. You were filming the scene where you were looking around a house, and that itself can be complicated if you make it complicated, but you were just able to just tackle it, you know. And I think Gary as well gives you very much freedom to play around in a scene, you know. And
I was so lucky that first experience of doing something like that was with Gary, because there was no, like, I have no level of discomfort with him in any way, shape or form. And I know that I'm safe, because like at the butt end of things, like Gary's a guy that I have a cup of tea with in like our houses. Do you know what I mean? So like it's like he's a family member. So it's like, oh well, just like it's Gary. Yeah. Do you know, he's not a scary director, or he's not this like, you know, whatever for me. Like he's just like, oh, I'm with Gary, so I'm in like a totally safe space. And then I can just do it. And I'm very lucky that happened on the first thing that I did, because then I was able to be like, oh, that's it. And then when I did a music video only recently with another director, and I was able to bring that into that role. Yeah.
It's just kind of a sense of ownership that it seems like you have. And maybe, you know, that'll help you going forward in terms of having worked with Gary. You have this sense of, this is my job and I'm going to fucking be me and I'm going to just tackle it.
You have to take ownership over these things. I think that comes from, so where I've been able to hone that in is in my other role as a coach in DSC Gym. So I own a little kind of gym box up in Dublin, and I've been a coach for a long period of time.
What's it called?
DSC Gym.
DSC?
So, DSC stands for Dublin Strength and Conditioning. Cool. We used to be Dublin Strength and Conditioning, where I was trying to think of the most authoritarian name that I could think of, and Dublin Strength and Conditioning was that. And I think what that did initially when we set up was gave us this like feeling of like, oh, that's an establishment or an institute of a little gym, and that served the product very well. But I feel like as we kind of matured, that calling yourself Dublin Strength and Conditioning was too kind of harsh and not really authentic to who I am and who the brand is. And we softened it and rebranded after COVID to DSC Gym, which is just a fucking throwaway name, but that it's a special little place. Like I was up there training last night and the atmosphere was lovely, and we have a real nice community and the coaches are excellent. Shout out to Dean and Tom. And Tom is moving on now to Australia, and we're taking on some new coaches that are also lovely people. And that's really the key, because then we've created this like little environment of safety and niceness and just like nice interactions. And I think from being a coach and like having to be the guy that leads the room and take ownership over situations and work out things with other people, like that gives you good problem solving and just a good grasp on yourself. And then I can bring that into that, and I can bring that into acting, and I can just treat it as in like, I'm just going to do this, you know, I'm just going to like, whatever it is, no matter what it is, I'm just going to commit to this and do it and express it and go down it. And as we go through it, if things pop up that we need to talk about or we need to figure out, well, then that's just what we do. We stop and we think about it and we figure it out.
How was working on the music video compared to working with Gary on a feature film?
So the music video was for James Vincent McMorrow and his new tune Hurricane, and it was a really cool concept. The director is Ilias Grace, and yeah, I play a director. I come in at the end of the song, and I basically give out to the other actors in the scene that they're not giving me an authentic experience, an authentic emotion, and a real feel. And I got to act with Hazel Dope. I probably pronounced her second name wrong, but she was amazing. Like, I'd never been in the room with someone that was like, she was crying, and it was like, oh, she's crying. She's crying. I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it was just deadly. And yeah, the experience, that's what I'm saying. I think the experience was kind of exactly the same because I was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Do you know, so like whatever about, like, obviously, you know, from director to director it's going to be different, but if I hold myself constant in that, well then it just, it feels easier for me. So I think like that's really, I'm delighted that I've been able to take that straight away and be like, right, I'm just going to try and be myself, although I'm acting, but as myself.
Yeah, but like
inside each and every one of these experiences.
Yeah.
And like, that's just really being, I don't want to say it's being brave, but like it is. It's like putting yourself, it's being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. And I think like, again, like I'm pretty grateful for the way I've been conditioned through, I suppose, my environment and like martial arts and like coaching and stuff like that I've had to be vulnerable loads and loads of times to help other people. I wouldn't necessarily do that for myself.
Yeah.
You know, but like if it's your job to do it for people, you get practice at it, and then you can do it in turn for yourself, and then you can constantly be yourself in those situations. Like when someone's asking you like, oh, we do it this way or do it that way, you can be like, oh yeah, you know, whatever. It's hard to relay it, but
I think like when we were talking earlier on about, you know, being yourself and bringing yourself into the role as opposed to trying to be something else.
Yeah.
If you know what's happening in the scene from the script, all that's required is for you to show up.
Yeah.
Like, people get into their head about, you know, interpretations and stuff like that. But if you know what's truly happening at the core of the scene, like, it's best not to dig too deep because you're going to
give yourself over.
Yeah.
Just give yourself over to what it is. So I love Eckhart Tolle has like, you know, has this quote. I'm probably going to butcher it now or probably say it wrong because I do this with most things. Is like, it's either life is the dancer and you're the dance, or like dance is the life and something, or rhythm is the dancer, or something like that. I'm not sure.
Rhythm is the dancer is a song.
Check that out there. Google that.
What's his name?
It's Eckhart Tolle, and it's like, you're not the you're not the dancer, you're not the dancer. I know what he's trying to convey, but just for me to hold these phrases in my head, it doesn't really work that way in my brain.
Life is the dancer and you are the dance.
There you go. Right. So life is the dancer and you are the dance. So it's like in those scenes, like, or if you're acting, is like, just give yourself over to that to this thing. Like, you're not in control of it.
No.
So just let it happen through you, and because you're the person that's you're the instrument. You know, like, you're just like resonating what's happening in the writing and in the scene and in the direction and everything else that's going around it to make it this thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And you give yourself over to it. So you're in this like constant state of presence in this moment. That's why, again, that's a huge part of it. And that's why, like, even in things that you do for pleasure, like, so let's say, like, you know, like playing music or, you know, singing or dancing or fucking heat therapy, cold therapy, physical exertion, combat, whatever it is, you know, is a opportunity for you to be present. And I suppose in these conversations, completely to engage with it and to not allow yourself to dip out of that at any time. That's the art form. It's just to constantly do that, and that will happen through repetition. And through exactly.
It's funny, like, when you say being present, I had to play a wedding last night.
Okay.
And I arrived about 8:30. People were just finishing getting their teas and coffees, and I was setting up, and I was in this big function room in a hotel, and it was split in two. One room had loads of couches and tiled floors and looked really nice. The other room was very much function room. So they asked me to set up in the function room. And when I was having a bit of an issue with my gear at the start, but once I got it all sorted, I started playing, and people started moving from the room that I was in into the couches room, because it was day 2 of a wedding and people were fucking hanging. And but it was so hard for me to be present playing to an empty, like it wasn't fully empty, but it was like there was maybe 10% of the people were in the room that I was in. The rest of the people were in the next room, which could still kind of hear me, but
but no one's really engaging with the experience.
I found it so uncomfortable. Feedback. There was no feedback, and you, as a singer and a performer, you feed off this, and you almost know what song to go to based on
how to play it, like how to be it, like how to do it, you know.
So it was just uncomfortable from start to finish. And I'm sure it came off in the way I was playing. So like if you're on set and you're not fully present or comfortable with something, and you're not explaining why you're uncomfortable, you're setting yourself up for failure, because how can you look authentic if you're not feeling authentic on the inside? You can't.
It's impossible.
So I think that kind of that's I don't know why I brought that up, but it just
no, but it's about authenticity. It's about like being in that, like
bringing yourself into something without blocks or barriers, I think.
Well, you talk about that feedback as well, like, you know, so like that feedback is so important. So let's say, for instance, even in our bodies, like you take your shoes off and you go outside and you get a feedback from the earth and from the ground and from the texture and from whatever you're standing on, like your body responds to that in a different way. So your mood changes, everything changes. Like there's a noticeable reaction to the action of you being grounded and taking this input. And then if you bring that to, like, let's say like acting or like an experience like that, or music or whatever it is, you need feedback. You need someone to say to you, you need something, you know, whatever it is. And I'd imagine in those kind of, like you're saying, that type of experience that you had there, when you're not receiving that feedback, it's very difficult for you to invest in that then. Because you're not wanted. Do you know what I mean? It's like they don't want you to do it. You're doing it. And it's like such a vulnerable thing. It'd be different if you were like, I don't know, it would be different if you were maybe doing a task that wasn't an artistic endeavor. Do you know, if you were, I don't know, what
grading papers or filling in data or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd be like, fuck it, this is just something I have to do.
Exactly.
But you can't just force, like a lovely moment,
like, or an emotion, like especially I find when I'm working opposite a great actor, then I need to do as little, or I require as little effort as necessary, because I can just be me responding to someone who's giving me them responding to me. It's like a what's it called, a palindrome or something, I don't know. Anyway,
you're asking the wrong man.
I remember doing a scene, it was a Kathy Brady workshop. She's a director, really good director. And I was working opposite an actor called Caroline Harvey. Did you ever meet her?
No.
Really, really good actor. Really, she worked at a Bow Street initially, I think. But we were doing a scene, and it was from a movie with Michael Shannon. Do you know him? Really good actor.
Again, I haven't. I'm terrible with
that's all right.
Names.
I'm kind of bad like that as well.
That kind of stuff.
But it was basically his character was seeing things and fully believed that he was seeing things, and nobody was listening to him. And so I was doing that opposite her, and the first times we did it, it was like we did a few different scenes, and we were like, there was times where Kathy Brady, because she can be kind of like abrupt and say, no, I'm not feeling it. Like she can almost be screaming at you, fucking do it properly. And we did this scene anyway, and Caroline's response to me being insane was so genuine that it made me question my own insanity at times. And that felt so real in the scene. And then when we stopped, like the two of us were both in tears, and it was just like that feeling when you're acting that's what you're looking for, is that like back and forth powerful response, you know?
You got to touch on it, you got to go into it, you got a dose of it there, and then it's I don't want to say it's a drug, because, you know, it's not a drug.
It's something else, but it's just as
well, a drug would be an artificial, I suppose, like an outer body sort of experience towards something like that, where it's so personal and so it's like having sex with someone. It's like fucking it's the same thing. It's like engaging in it's engaging in a physical, mental, emotional act and coming out of it then.
That's a very, very good way of putting it.
Yeah. You have to just be ready to do that and open to do that, you know. That's what's lovely. Because where do you get that?
And
where
then,
do you get that?
and then to feel
of,
safe afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it might be harrowing going through it, but you come out the other side and it's like...
Again, like martial arts, like, you know, same thing. Like, you know,
it's controlled to
exactly.
To an extent.
Yeah. If we went down now on the floor and tried to figure out some stuff and rolled around and then...
It's like having sex.
You know, yeah. Well, and then then you choke me out or I choke you out or something happens or whatever it may be, and then we start again and we go again. We get to play at a higher level, you know, at a different thing, like, you know. And it's lovely. It's just, that's what it is. And I think yeah, it'd just be such a benefit to a lot of people. I'd imagine, even just to do it from, like you were saying earlier on about like dancing, like, you know, and like think of dancing as like one of those things that we just do, like, you know, humans dance, like we just do that. But you know, maybe in like you know, you couldn't just break out into a moonwalk in the middle of Tesco's. But nothing saying you can't break out into a moonwalk in the middle of Tesco's. But the environment is not subjective to that. Like it's not encouraging of something like that, you know, where like it would be lovely if there was like loads of safe places. Like, what if we did this, right? What if we just got all the churches and we said, right, like, let's not use them as churches anymore, but use them as like places where people can go and connect and express and do something together, so we can enter into, you know, like a conversation, like me and you could sit down and say, like, you know, what's going on for you, and what's, and like, you know, how
are you really feeling? Yeah,
like that how are you today is like such a throwaway, like, you know, thing. Oh, what's the story? How's it going? Yeah. Like, you know, it's just like we just say it so much.
But we say it like a hi as opposed to a question. Like in America, if you say, how are you? How's it going? People respond. They go, fine, thanks. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I didn't really care.
Yeah. I was walking down Ballymoney the other day, going down for a swim, and a guy was coming up out of Ballymoney, and he'd been in the water and stuff like that. And I said to him, I was like, oh, what's the story? How's it going? And he stopped and he told me how it went, like how it was going,
and that was probably
and it was so refreshing. Yeah, well, initially I wasn't comfortable. So initially it was I was like, I wasn't expecting this fucker to start talking to me. But then we started talking, and it was a nice interaction, and we went out, you know, and probably because he had come out of the water, because I think you're more open to that kind of stuff after those types of experiences, because you're more in your body than you are in your head. Yeah, it's just like that's what I suppose when we were talking at the very top of this about, like, when I moved down from Dublin to here, like about, you know, 5 months ago now at this stage, and like the difference down here is that more people are willing to stop and have those types of conversations, because their cups are fuller, and because they've been in these environments that are more, need to have the time, that more natural, you know, everything is at a slower pace because of that. Even if people's lives are still as frantic, they can find the pockets of time, because again, like, the environment as such, it's just so beautiful. And I think, like, we'd all be a lot better if we just did that a lot more often, and that's something that I really value, and I'm trying to do as much as I can. So if you see me walking around and you want to say hello and say how's it going, I would love to talk.
He's a big ginger cunt, lads.
Big ginger fucker with a weird feet.
But you're right, like, there should be more facets, like, where you meet up with people on a regular basis, just to, I'm trying to find a different word for connect, but connect is basically what I want to say. Like, when I did a Meisner acting course, and Meisner is all about just connecting, and I think that there's so many reasons to do Meisner that's not acting, because it's locking on to the person opposite you, and just feeling what they're feeling just through their eyes, or even just feeling what you're feeling, but letting them see you feel that. And that is like that's what's deemed as uncomfortable nowadays.
It is
when
and
people
that used
see
to
people
be like that. I think that used to be a baseline thing of being a gentleman, or being like a well presented person, will be that you make eye contact, you shake someone's hand, you meet them, you greet them in a way, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff, like that old school sort of approach to it. Like I think like that's been lost now. Like the generation that are coming up now, for whatever reason, you know, so much more difficult for them because of the input being so high with social media and everything else. Connections are so weird now, where I find with a younger generation, I was in a restaurant the other day, and there was a waiter, and she was a young girl, and she came over, and I just felt the awkwardness, I just felt the uncomfortableness from her, like, and I felt that she wasn't comfortable in her own skin, and I really felt it off her. And
it's very visually evident nowadays when you can see someone is
it's acceptable. It's acceptable to be like, it's acceptable to just be like, to not really engage.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? It's like, it's acceptable to have a conversation with someone while they're still scrolling through their phone.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable.
No.
It's not like I can't accept that, because I can't have that conversation, because I'm not wasting my energy.
It's funny, like in work, sometimes people come up to the door or to come up to the till while they're on a conversation.
Yeah.
And they'll slip their order in through that conversation and then go straight back to the phone. Yeah. And it's so like, so impersonal, and it's just horrible to witness. Like,
I was in a cafe, Two Pups. All right, it's one of my favorite places to go on Francis Street. And I remember being on the phone and on a call, and it was my turn then to go to the thing and order a coffee or whatever I was getting, and I hung the phone up. I didn't think, I was like, I have to go off the kind of thing, and I put my phone on, and then the girl that was serving me said, "Thank you so much for hanging your phone up," or whatever, like whatever she said. But she basically just, it was like, "Thank you so much for getting off the call before you offered like this." She, basically what you're just saying there, and that I didn't think of that as a big thing. I just thought of it as like, I'm gonna put my phone away, because I probably didn't do it out of like niceness to her. I probably did it out of just like,
I was gonna say, you're such a nice person.
No. As like, I was just like wanting to look at the menu and figure out what was going on. But the fact that she acknowledged that in that moment, that's what caught my attention. I was like, oh, look at this person acknowledging that I did that. I wasn't even aware that I did that. Yeah. But I was like, oh, that is a thing, and that must grind down on you.
It is. It's hard, but it the opposite happens too. Like when people come up and they're looking you in your eyes, and you're looking them in their eyes, it's like, it's almost a magic that happens, because they'll hold your gaze longer, because they're almost surprised that
it's authentic.
You're looking real. You're seeing them basically.
Exactly.
Because most people don't. And I used to never look people in the eyes, because I don't have the best hearing. Mm-hmm. So I would be always looking at people's lips moving to try and get the full story or whatever it is. But only since I started looking people like in the eyes, it's like you get a warm feeling from it.
It changes everything with the conversation.
Yeah.
Like they're now going to it's just a different thing. Do you think if more people called out people on it, like, I don't call now as in like, you know, put your phone down type thing, but like that girl acknowledged with me that I did do that, and that bit of praise about that probably spurred me on to not do that again. Like, you know, and like, do you think if someone was to say, if someone was to be like, hey, you know, could you I'll wait, like, let's say someone comes into Hungry Bear, right, and they're on their phone, and you turn around to them and you say, I'll wait until you finish your call, and then I'll sit you in your seat. Yeah. And he just stood there and looked at them.
Oh, they wouldn't accept that. Sorry.
No, I'll just say to me? I'll just hold off until you finish your phone call. But if you could do it in a non-confrontational way, I wonder how is there a way that you could approach that the person doesn't feel threatened in it? They feel like you're just like, hey, I'll just chill out here until you finish that call, and then we'll get you a table sorted. But like, and you could even be like, do you mind if I get the next person sat before?
Yeah, no, people won't accept that.
They're mad, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mad fucks.
Yeah.
That's just people, isn't it, though? Because there's a sense of entitlement, isn't there? It's like, then it's like that role thing we were talking about, because you are effectively, you're
just filling a need for them. Just essentially.
You're a guy that's going to put them in a seat and get them their food.
But do you know what I mean? It's funny, like, there's
I'm the customer, I'm always right type thing.
There are people that don't have a moment alone with their thoughts. So like when they finish, say, whatever they're doing, then they call someone to fill the void. And that's why they're on the phone a lot of the time. Like there's some people that I just see, they don't have space in between meeting someone, doing work, talking on the phone, listening to music, listening to podcasts. There's no moments, quiet moments.
You fill the void with stuff, and then you can very quickly trick yourself to think that you're a person that spends a lot of time like with yourself, but you're not.
No, because you've got earphones in.
Exactly. Even the sense of like, one nice thing though is like to do is to put your headphones on and not have any music on, and like just I find that nice out in like public. I'll often do that if I want to just kind of. I'll put my headphones on. I won't play any music or anything like that, but I like the fact that I can't really hear anything, so I'm kind of with myself.
All right.
Like if I need like a break away from things, like it kind of dumbs the sort of like the sharpness of everything down, and that's nice. But that constant need for like an input, it's an anxious thing. It's just like onto the next thing, and it's also I'd imagine it might be like a consumer thing as well. It's like because you're consuming something. It's like
it's constant dopamine, but that lowers the actual overall sense of when you do something that requires dopamine.
Yeah, you drink a cup of coffee every single day, and then you don't drink a cup of coffee for a month, and you have that first cup of coffee back, and you notice, oh shit, this is what caffeine does. Imagine you did that.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, imagine you did that with dopamine. Imagine you did that with like. You did like you didn't get those doses. And all of a sudden, then you got that big hit. Like, we're just being numbed.
I think it's also some people identify with every single thought that pops into their head, and they think that that's noise. So all that time listening to music or on the phone or talking to other people is just a way to quieten that. Whereas if you just acknowledge that your thoughts aren't you, you can kind of fizzle it out like white noise. Yeah,
that concept though.
But it is hard to understand.
It's very difficult to attain if you're also never getting a break away from the constant like murmur of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the benefit of like tools like therapy,
meditation,
and that. Like going to exactly, like medication or talking to somebody or whatever it may be, that you get a chance to break away from that.
Sorry, I said meditation. I'm not pro medication.
Oh well, I mean, I think like
if it works, but
like I've never been on SSRIs or anything like that, but I think like I know people that have definitely benefited from that, and I think like whatever tool is needed to help a person get through something, go for it once it's A, not hurting anybody else, and then B is not hurting that person too, like something that can be not weaned off of, but maybe you can grow with it. So like let's say for instance like meditation is a real pure state of that, because both how hard and how attainable is that for it's so fucking hard
and hard to keep up, more so than actually doing it.
Of course, man.
It's like going to the gym.
I remember therapist that I used to go to saying this to me. He was sitting down having a pint with like a few lads, and they were all sitting around, and he was a real cool guy, and he used to be into like mountain biking and doing a few bits and bobs and stuff like that, and all the gentlemen, and he was sitting there with all these mates that he has, and he was like, they were all saying like, oh, I bet you to do the Ring of Kerry in X amount of time, or I bet you to run up this hill, or where the fuck it was. And he was like, one of the other lads turned around and said, well, I bet you to go to a house in the west of Ireland in the middle of nowhere with absolutely nothing and just sit there for a week. So we call an ambulance for you in 48 hours, because you will go insane, because you are there by yourself in your own thoughts, unless that can be a heaven and that can be a hell. Like for me, I would love that for a period of time, I'm sure, until I immediately started to struggle with it, and then I would have to overcome that struggle in that moment, and then it would be heaven again. So, but for someone that maybe could never touch what it would be like to be calm with oneself, to go into that type of environment, you're fucked.
A few hours.
Yeah, you're gone. Like, that's why, I mean, the worst thing we can do to people is put them in solitary confinement. Yeah. Lock you in a little room with no light, no interaction, no nothing. That's the harshest thing we can do to a human. And it's because you're alone with yourself. And that's what it is to be a human is to struggle with that human condition, that there's something not right inside of us, where we have a natural world and a natural orientation, and then we also have this logical world that's not really very logical that we have to occupy. And then that's a constant conflict between ourselves, inside of ourselves. And that's the shit. Like, that's the stuff that's where living is done. If you know, I think for me, I'm so interested in pursuing that concept and just bringing light and awareness to that in my life. That's my goal. Like, you know, that's what I want to do, is understand that for me. What is that for me? Like, you know, like how can I don't want to satisfy all of my needs, because that's not good either, but like, how can I identify what's my natural way of being, and then also how can I exist in this like quite a logical sort of society and world, and not feel like an outsider, and feel connection and see myself reflected in my community. And that's where like you know, it's a beautiful thing that you have with Hungry Bear, because you've got this community of people that come into like a lovely restaurant, and you know, the food is lovely, but I think all of that actually is a lot of bollocks, really. It's not really why it's a nice place. I think why it's a nice place is because people come in and are appreciated for coming in, do you know? So you get that feeling and that goodwill, and I love the idea that
it's community.
Yeah, it's connection. It's you can see yourself reflected in there as well. Like me and Becky will be like, we get on to like, we'll be like, we go get a coffee or something like that, or we'll go get something to eat, and like we might just say, we'll go to Hungry Bear because we want to like feel good. We want to go in and be like, and walk in and be like, hey, what's the story? How's it going? And I can feel a connection, versus going to maybe like a different restaurant that maybe like, you know, we would like to go to, but like we're gonna go in there and not gonna know anybody, you know, it's not gonna feel comfortable and warm. And like that's what you said about like Matthias and Angie coming in. They used to get breakfast every morning. They did such a cool thing, right? So they're mad for getting a coffee on like a tree. So they just toured around Europe and filmed themselves going to different cafes, getting a coffee in a tree, like, and did that as a little cut together, as a little documentary just for themselves.
Totally.
That's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that's what it is. That's what I think, and like that's where like I'm sure that's a massive part of your life, is the fact that that's probably the benefit of being in Hungry Bear and like having that, is that you get to connect into a community like this.
Yeah, definitely.
It seems very again as well, like because of the I think the smallness of Gorey versus like Dublin, it seems like there's loads of like little pockets like that around here as well. There's loads of nice little communities that are like little ecosystems that occupy like spaces. You know, like you talked about those guys up in the stables there, and like and even like Ballymoney Beach Shop there, and the sauna being there, Southeast Sauna, and all that kind of stuff. Like that's all going to start building into that, and you can feel it. Even though this is quite a transient town, where it's like got like a seasonal sort of like swell,
which is crazy to watch happen, isn't it?
I haven't seen it. I've only come down here, like when I came in here during the summer, like the last 2 years. I came in for a couple of like days and like maybe stay out for a few nights of it, but I've not experienced
You'll notice when it comes back to winter time.
I can see it now with like, you know, a guy walked by me last night when I was getting out the car to get a bar of chocolate for Becky in Ballymoney Shop before I went up to the house.
Shout out to Ballymoney Shop.
Shout out to Ballymoney Shop. Hughes Food Market. you guys have saved my ass so many times. But this guy was walking towards me, and he was like wearing like an antisocial club, like where it's that fucking tattoo shop in Dublin. Heartbreak Social Club, like one of their hoodies or one of their like crews. He was like wearing one of those, and I was like, look at this little fucker, like down on his holidays with his man dad, like, and he's down walking trying to get like a box of Pringles and get out of the house for half an hour. And I was like, I knew that's what he was like by looking at him. I was like, no way is he from around here. Like, not saying that you can't have a fucking Heartbreak Social Club jumper if you're from Gorey, but like he definitely looked like he was just he looked like he didn't want to be here as well. He looked like he was dragged down. I'm looking forward to seeing those types of teenagers around. I really don't want to be here, but I have to be here because my man and dad made me come here in the holiday home that I come down every fucking year for.
Yeah, like Ireland is great and all, but the weather just doesn't suit holiday homes. Like, imagine being stuck in a holiday home when it's pissing rain.
Yeah, it's fucking soul destroying.
Like, and most of the summer is fucking like that anyway.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
It's so sunny down here though, in comparison to like, I feel like it's a lot sunnier down here than it is in most places in Ireland. We probably get more.
You just get used to it, I suppose, and then the rainy days come and you're like, fuck, it's like this all the time.
I know, yeah. I was I like, my car is broke at the moment and it's getting fixed, and I had like a day where I had no car, and like we live up on Tara Hill, and like so we can't really walk to, like we can walk to the Tara Hill walk, and we walk to Saline Beach, but we come like that's it, and it's a decent enough walk. And then like I have the 2-year-old with me, like Indy, and she's like, you know, if you like a 20-minute walk with a 2-year-old is like a fucking 4-hour hike, you know, like even if it only takes you 20 minutes, it's like such a struggle at times. And we had no car, and it was pissing rain, and I was like, oh, this is like this is a full day of inside. So that was another thing about like the rain stuff. So we got like our wet gear on, and we just went down to the front garden and got wet, and then came back in again. We get dry and try and go back out again a little bit, like get wet again and come back in. And like, yeah, it's just, it's when it's raining and when the mood is dropped like that, it's difficult, you know. What's that called? Pathetic fallacy, is it? Like when the theme of like, like Shakespearean thing, like the theme of the reflects in the weather. Yeah, you do. You're in. We're linked with it, man. We're linked with it. We're linked with it in such a heavy way, and then we're so disconnected from it. Do you know? Think about like circadian rhythm and all that kind of stuff. Like, you should get up when the sun gets up. You should go to bed when the sun goes down. But we don't ever do that. You know, we stare at a screen like till fucking 11 o'clock at night, and then you turn it off, and then you jump into bed, and you're worried why you can't sleep. You can't sleep because your fucking mind is on overdrive. You've just been suckling from fucking like this dopamine cow, and then you're gonna try and lie down and count sheep. It ain't gonna work. So you need to have like a phase where that comes down. You know, your evening time and stuff like that. How would you spend an evening? What's a typical evening for Liam?
Sometimes if it's still Brighton, I'll go out maybe and try and play a bit of golf.
Nice.
And then I'll come home and either get food or make food, depending on my mood.
So you're a chef. So what type of food would you make? What's your like?
I generally I don't bother anymore. Like, I'll like.
What's your dinner? What is your dinner plate?
Like last night, I just made 2 burgers for myself.
Nice.
It depends.
What type of burgers? Beef.
Beef burgers, and I put cheese, and I have this red onion and chorizo kind of jam sort of
like a
stuff.
chili jam type thing. Yeah, nice. What type of cheese are we talking about here? Did you go American?
Just a bit of mature. Just a bit of mature cheddar.
Nice cheese? Oh yeah.
Did not like. I try not to complicate it too much because I know it. Once it tastes good, it's nice.
I like to buy a block of Wexford and a block of Dubliner cheese,
and you mix them and make them.
No,
like,
I just put them in the fridge, and I look at them and
far
I open
apart.
the fridge and I think to myself, there I am, represented in cheese form.
Oh my god!
I know. My meals are rice or potatoes, veg, usually courgette, mushroom, maybe red pepper, and a meat, and that's pretty much it. That's.
Are you like regimented in that because of fitness? Or?
No, not so. That's where I'm the most unfit fitness person in Ireland. Like, I think that, like, I wouldn't enjoy that life of, like, you know, broccoli and chicken and shit like that. Like, fuck that. Like, I like broccoli if broccoli has been done in, you know, a nice sesame oil, and it's like it's on the side of a teriyaki pork chop. You know what I mean? Now we were like vegan for a while. We were vegetarian for a while. We would like be. Like, we probably like, and that from like, I've been a processed food junkie for a while as well, and then like, so I've had a couple of different like cycles and experiences, but I think right now, like, I love the consistency of like the way we eat at home. It's just like kind of the same sort of meals, but like done slightly different. Like an
I think you have to change it up
because
there is speaking of dopamine, there is dopamine that comes with eating, and if you have the same thing, I've tried this over lockdown. If you have the same thing every day, that satisfaction and dopamine hit you get from eating just weans off. And then you 100%. Finally change, and it's like, oh, this is fucking amazing. Even if it's just a grand meal. Like,
look, you know the concept of like a home cooked meal. Like, you're like, oh god, it's a lovely home cooked meal. The reason why you feel so nice after that home cooked meal is because someone that loved you made that fucking meal for you. Like there's an energy in everything. There's an energy in food. There's an energy, like, think of like if we throw together a dinner in the evening time, like, and like we'll just eat it. It's like, that wasn't really that enjoyable, but spend a little more time on it and a little more care into it, a little more love into it, and everything comes up. And then the meal is like, this is so lovely.
Unless it's shit.
And then another thing as well is, do you watch TV while you eat, or do you just eat?
Generally, I'll either... Yeah, I think it depends. Depends on the day, but sometimes I'll stick the iPad on.
We fucking, like, if I don't have something ready to watch when that meal is ready, like, me and Becky could potentially box the head off each other. So it's like, when the dinner's ready, it's like I'm shouting into her, being like, right, this is coming in now in 30 seconds. Stick on Modern Family there.
I watch while I'm making whatever it is. So I'll then just carry that over.
Yeah. But then on the flip side of that, I really noticed the difference. Like last night, we didn't watch something while we had our food. And like, it was a real nice meal as well. We had like teriyaki pork chops and like this sticky rice, man, from Dunn Stores. Like this like microwave rice, you need to get it. It's just sticky, but it's like, it's so nice. Courgettes and mushrooms, and and it was just so nice to not have the meal, not have something going on. I could really focus on the meal. I was like, oh, this is so lovely to do. I need to do this more. I need to engage with my food more. Because you think about it, like, you wouldn't, if you go to a restaurant, a real nice restaurant, they don't then pop up a fucking iPad in front of you. You know, they do in McDonald's. It was not a nice restaurant. But like, you know, so I think like that would probably be an example of where we've probably been numbed down to the experience of food, where we just like, we sub in something else. I would have been mad for that. Like, I would have always had music going while I was doing something, or TV in the background while I was doing something. Or I always think of Step Brothers, when, you know, when he rings them and he's like, how do you get the stereo to work at the same time as the TV? And he's like, why do you want that to work? He's like, I like to party. And it's like, that's a perfect example of like, I just want all of the dopamine right now. So I want to watch The Simpsons while I listen to Jimi Hendrix, while I eat sugary sweets and jog on the spot. You know what I mean? Like, I want all of the sensory input right now, you know. I can, like, the one isn't enough.
Yeah.
Liam, we better wrap this up.
Yeah,
How long have we been going for?
Literally 30 seconds will be 2 hours.
Whoa.
Shit.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get some...
Edit it down to 10 minutes of good content.
Just 10 solid minutes. That's all we need.
Delete the wank.
Yeah, just 15 seconds. Just a quick sound bite. Yeah, this is lovely. This is the first time I've ever done a podcast.
No way.
Yeah, never done a podcast before.
Alrighty.
It was lovely.
Nice chatting with you, bro.
Nice chatting with you, Liam.
And we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Cool, Bill.
Absolutely. And everybody in Gorey, be lovely. And keep yourself open to the fact that Bad Things in the Middle of Nowhere is coming to a cinema near you very, very soon.
Well, the cinema near you. Movies at Gorey.
Absolutely.
All right. Peace out, guys. Thanks a mil for listening. Bye.